Hey everyone, it's Kris with Tabletops and Tentacles, and in this video I am just sort of trying to figure this room out. This is my room of potential. So with YouTube becoming a little bit of a bigger part of what we're trying to do with Deeply Dapper, we realized we need a interesting space to film, but frankly, doing as many different crazy things as we do, our house is extremely full. I don't have just an empty, nascent space waiting to become a studio. So, for now, the game room is going to have to double as a studio too, but it still also has to remain functional as a game room. We play a lot of board games, it's part of what we do. We also do some RPGs, and this is also sort of where we do a lot of planning and writing for the magazine itself. So, this room has to stay multi-purpose, and it has to stay a little messy, but it doesn't need to be as cluttered as it is right now. As I'm working on this room, I've been also doing a lot of research on other YouTubers, how they do their space, what it looks like, and if there's any lessons I can actually learn from that and do something with. Big picture, we will eventually have a dedicated space for me to work on the magazine, record videos, and create content for both our YouTube and the magazine and everything else. Right now, that is a big wide open shell of a shed that doesn't have anything in it but a little bit of yard stuff. And in the meantime, I need a place to film. So I thought I would sort of use this video to show you guys the space I work in and hopefully what it becomes. It's still going to be a messy game room, but I would like it to be a little more functional for filming too. Obviously you've seen my other shed that I filmed a lot of the other videos in, and that's sort of my art room, but it's small. There's really no way to shoot it that you don't get the fishbowl effect and it looks like I'm the big bad wolf in a house made of sticks. So this at least is a little better size for that. I'll probably still be doing some videos out in the shed occasionally, but for now this is going to be the space. So this here is just sort of our Wall O magazine, where I do a lot of my planning. Usually this is full of a lot more clipboards, but I have a lot of them out on the table in the office right now. Then I have all my neoprene mats hanging up here. This is technically like plastic for like your grandmother's couch, and then I cut into strips, and then I just draw my maps and stuff for D&D on it, and it works pretty well. And those are just hung up with some alligator clips up at the top, which is not very efficient, and I don't recommend it. They fall off all the time. Meanwhile, over here we have some art. The Legend of Zelda one's mine. This piece here is by my buddy Gavin. We got some booze, some tiki stuff. I'm a big horror tiki fan. That may be what we theme the ultimate game room as. That's some of our games. We have games all over the room. We also have games in other places. We just really got into games for the last few years, but they take over real quick. See, and so I've got a lot of really fun stuff, but there's so much stuff that it's sort of overwhelming. Like, as much as I love my collection of playing cards here, I don't think that spinner rack really works in the background of things. We've got some small box games down here. There's Creature Features, that's our game that we created in a VHS case. Got a couple of books, some decor. Mr. Pell Steps Out, it's one of my novels. We have tons of pens and pencils and stuff everywhere all the time. Something I genuinely can't avoid. Here's some of my unpainted minis, which is basically all of my minis are unpainted right now. Got dice and more dice and more dice. There's our Tabletops and Tentacles proof, which I ordered the prints of today for our backers. Over here is my Wall O terrain and crafting supply stuff. You got Sculpey and paint and carving supplies, a few more board games, more minis. I think I have like one painted miniature on this entire shelf. Super fancy. And then we got another shelf of games here. Most of these are ones we don't play as often, or they're games that we're actually in the middle of making. And we've got this thing. I don't know what it's used for, but it's here. And then some art that needs to be packed up. So this is our game room, such as it is. And as you can see, the lighting is great for playing games. We've got 2 LED shop lights as well as the top piece there. But it's awful lighting for filming. So we're going to take this room and see if we can do something different with it. It's got a dog under the table. Ludo. Ludo. Oh, hi. What's up, buddy? So the first thing I want to do is sort of set up my filming area here, both where the tripod's going to sit, where the table will be, and how much of the room you'll actually see. So what I'm going to do here is just sort of move the table around, tweak the location a little bit, until I'm happy with what the viewers are going to see. Then I'll deal with the clutter behind it. As soon as I decided I had it where I liked it, I realized that I had it too far back. There was all of that background really close behind me, and I felt like I needed a little more separation, and since I had room to work with it in the room, I did by pulling the table and the tripod back and trying to get it a little better. What I'm really shooting for is trying to get a good view of the room, some of the table, but not everything. You don't need to see the ceiling and the lighting fixtures and everything like that. And it's a little tricky with the iPhone as your only recording device because your focus and zoom and depth of field are fairly limited compared to using a traditional video camera to record. I'll inevitably end up moving all of this every single time I film because I'm never going to be 100% happy with it. I'm not a photographer, I'm not a videographer, I'm just a dork who likes to talk about geeky stuff. But I'll figure it out eventually. I'm sure I'll find a position I really like and we'll lock it in place, throw some gaffer tape on the floor to tell me where to keep the tripod or something like that, so that it's easy to set up but can still be moved when we're playing games down here. In the meantime, I started moving off and swapping things around here. So here's a nice time lapse of my wide body as it lumbers around, trying to make this look slightly less cluttered. If you're into pirate stuff at all, The Pirate Primer by George Shondas is an excellent book. It's super cool. It talks a lot about slang and terminology and life on a boat. It's a great book. I love that book. So I spent some time trying to decide whether I wanted to premiere face games and books on this so that the covers were visible instead of all of them lined up like a bookshelf. And I ultimately decided not to, mostly because it would involve me either hiding games and books behind the covers of other ones so that it looked nicer but was less functional, or actually having to move them out of the room, and this has to stay functional as a game room too, and I don't want to have to move everything every time we're picking a game to play. And honestly, I'm kind of a title peeper when it comes to videos. I love seeing what games and books other people have on their shelves, so why not do it for other people too, all 6 of you that watch this. So here's another problem. I'm a hoarder. I kept talking to the camera even though I wasn't really recording anything but the audio straight from the phone on this, so I'm making lots of meaningless gestures at the screen right now, and I apologize for that. Also, watching this video as I'm doing the editing right now, it really makes me reflect upon whether I need to maybe figure out what that treadmill's for and maybe lose some weight, get healthier. I hate the camera. I also went upstairs and stole one of my wife's copper baskets that she's using to organize our spices and things in the kitchen, because I find that things look a little more uniform and nicer if they have some division to them. So into the bin go the liquor bottles. So one thing when you're watching these YouTube videos is obviously lighting is a huge part of it. Lighting and sound, which I'm still working on the sound part, but it's getting there. This room's got a lot more bounce to it than most of the other places I've filmed, just because of the sheer amount of flat, hard surfaces. The floor is wood. This is wood. The walls are all like a glossy paint finish. So I'm gonna have to figure out some stuff to soften all of that so that the sound isn't as bouncy when I'm filming in here. And the lighting needs some serious work. I need some sort of key light that I can set up here to kind of highlight my face. There's a window here, but it only gets light for like 2 hours of the day because it's on the back side of the house over on the east. And it's sort of under a patio thing. So I'm thinking something similar to that I can control. And I've seen a tutorial or two for making cheap lights without paying $200 or $300 or $1,000 for a good light system. So I'm going to try that out. Then I need something over on this side to sort of bounce the light, just to kind of get that little side definition here. I don't have a lot to work with, so I've got to light it the way I can. And then typically if you're watching a YouTube video, if you look in their background, that's something I've spent a lot of time doing the last month as I've been researching YouTube. And yeah, this is usually not nearly as cluttered as this, obviously, but they usually have points of interest, and then they have lighting. And the lighting usually consists of a color light coming from somewhere, usually off screen, and a cool old-timey light that's usually in view but out of focus unless you're using an iPhone, in which case that's hard to do because that depth of field is so, well, it's all it is depth of field with it. I have this light in here that is sort of like an industrial looking wall light that I picked up from a reclaim store, or where like they recycle old building supplies, that I got for like $7. I haven't tried it yet to see if the light actually works on it or if I'm gonna have to rewire it, but it might be perfect for my old-timey accent light in the background. But other than that, I think this is gonna have to work for now. We'll see how it does, but fingers crossed that it looks pretty decent. It looks better than it did, at least. I know that much. So we'll see how the lighting looks once I get it figured out. But for now, this could work. We'll see. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you'd like to support the channel, you can go to tabletopsandtentacles.com. You can subscribe to the magazine on Patreon. Just like and subscribe to our channels. We've got 5 now. I'll have links for all of those in the description if you want to check out and subscribe to our magazine and to our YouTube channels. And just thanks for watching, everyone. I don't have a catchphrase.